Paul, you're a supporter of high-speed rail. Are you surprised there hasn't been more public enthusiasm for it up in the northwest?
I think there's been a great deal of enthusiasm, actually. Most people do want to see an improvement to the existing intercity lines. The real problem isn't about the speed or the time saved, it's actually about the capacity issues. It's about making sure that we can get more trains onto the track between the northwest and Euston. Blackpool at the moment is denied a direct service to London, particularly because the line is full up at the moment and we can't get the new train paths in that we need to expand capacity, so it's crucial for the region.
But there doesn't seem to be that groundswell of support. There's still quite a lot of scepticism. Although people, I think, perhaps might quite like it, they're wondering, is it value for money?
And that's natural. It is an enormous amount of money. I don't dispute that. But we have to look at the opportunity cost if we don't go ahead with that. What we don't want to see is an affluent London floating away on a tide of its own affluence and leaving us behind in the north. We have an immense economic output gap to make up with the south of England, and part of that is done by improving transport links so we can actually generate more from our local economy and also improve links within the north as well.
So that more business people are able to come up from London to work here?
Exactly, but it's equally important that we can get from Liverpool to Manchester more speedily, or Manchester to Sheffield, and around the north as well. So we can't just look at HS2 in isolation. We have to look at it alongside things like the Northern Hub, which is improving Northern Regional Rail.
Well, let's have a look at how much one study says it'll cost compared with elsewhere. In France, high-speed rail cost £9 million per mile to build. In Germany, it was 22, Spain 34, and here in the UK, it's going to cost £129 million per mile. Dave, too expensive?
Well, first of all, my party isn't supported this in principle, but it doesn't write a blank cheque. And I think the reason you can see the high cost there is that the Conservative government has succumbed to backbench pressure and is tunneling most of this, or a large section of it. My worry about it is 48 billion pounds now and counting. 43. By the time we actually get to Birmingham, there'll be no money left to actually to bring the rail system into the northwest and beyond.
Well, the people who are behind it say they're absolutely clear what the budgets are for both bits of the line, and they are on target and on budget, and they're going to stick to that.
Well, they haven't built anything yet, and this is the problem. If anyone can tell me of a mega scheme of this size that comes in on time and on price, I'll be a very amazed man if that's the case, because I don't believe the Olympics didn't come in on time and didn't come in. It come in on time, but it didn't come in the budget.
So you're sceptical. You think there are better ways to spend the cash, do you?
I personally believe that if you really want to stimulate the northwest, what you should do is look at the east-west rail link. That would then open up the access to Europe. It would also open up the access from Ireland to Liverpool. That would be much better use of resources and would cost a lot less and would have an immediate effect and benefit to the northwest.
Gina, where does the Green Party stand on high-speed rail?
Well, the Green Party doesn't easily object to trains and rail building, but we are absolutely against this HS2 project. It doesn't stack up. It's not going. It hasn't been robustly assessed to meet its own objectives, and of course we do want to see a rebalancing of the economy between north and south, but there's no evidence that HS2 is going to do that. And
well, Paul's just explained that side of it.
No, it doesn't stack up.
You don't agree with his argument?
What we need is investment in this region, in the regional economy, and we need to be moving to more localised economies, and just providing faster trains down to London from Manchester, and already their own figures say that for every one person travelling from Manchester down to London and back, there's 3 doing it the other way. So this is clearly about people coming up from London and back. It's not about...
Well, that's not a bad thing, is it, if they're coming up to do business here?
But what we need is jobs and a good rail infrastructure within the region, so
but
that
that's
we
why
can...
they'll be coming. They're not coming for tourism.
but we need to have our own sustainable economy within the region. And like Dave was saying, we need better rail systems. At the moment, it takes you as long almost to get from Lancaster to Liverpool as it does from Lancaster to London.
Paul.
We've got really...
Which is precisely why we're not just investing in HS2, we're investing in the Northern Hub, which is facilitating greater travel within the north. We're electrifying the rail lines to Preston, to Blackpool, to Liverpool, to Manchester. HS2 is not the only rail improvement that we're seeing from this government in the north of England.
Have you been disappointed, though, with the mismanagement of this? Because costs have risen to some extent, and certainly the early figures just don't bear relation to what we're now at.
I would agree that costs have been rising, but I am now confident that with Sir John Armitt in charge, we are going to make sure that we stick to our budget. But I think the issue has to be that if we don't go ahead with this, are we all going to be back here in 10 years' time arguing over standing on intercity trains? Are we all going to be saying, let's barricade the M6 now, tear that up because we don't need to move to the north? The north has to be part of the UK, and it will generate greater economic growth by being part of the country.
Let me just ask Dave quickly, have North West MPs been putting pressure on the Labour leadership to get behind high-speed rail?
Well, some of them have and some of them haven't. And I think our position is probably the right one, which is we're not writing a blank cheque.
But is the government writing a blank cheque?
Well, it is, because it says it wants to go ahead, and it says it's got a budget, but what happens if that budget is broken? Is someone going to stop this system midway, which I think they will do? They'll stop it at Birmingham, and that's as far as it will go up the north.
All right, well, we need to move on as well.